6:45. This is the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. The morning news edited by Danushka Madhavala, read by Sound Thavam. Today is Tamil Thai-Pongal Day. The President and the Prime Minister extend best wishes to the Tamils of Sri Lanka who celebrate the Thai-Pongal festival. The President emphasizes that the government has no intention of selling or leasing out the East Container Terminal of the Colombo Harbour. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 patients count surpasses the 50,000 mark. It is stressed that Sri Lanka and Vietnam have immense potential for cooperation in the agriculture and fisheries sectors. In world news, Trump impeached for inciting US Capitol riot. Today is Tamil Thai-Pongal Day. Issuing a message, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa said that Thai-Pongal, also known as the Festival of Harvest, is one of the foremost religious and cultural events celebrated by Tamils around the globe. It signifies paying gratitude to the sun on which farmers rely for a bountiful harvest and the traditional way of life tied to agriculture and Mother Nature. Tamils who live by the Hindu faith consider Thai-Pongal to mark the dawn of a new year during which their expectations would be fulfilled. Quote, "On this joyful occasion, I join our Tamil brethren to share their joy and happiness," unquote. In his message, he added that he extends his best wishes to the Tamils of Sri Lanka who celebrate the Thai-Pongal festival, which has earned the respect and recognition of society and also which marks the noble virtues honoured by the people. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, issuing a message for Thai-Pongal Day, says, quote, "It is with immense pleasure that I wish all Tamil devotees in Sri Lanka and all over the world a very happy Thai-Pongal festival. In the Hindu Tamil calendar, the first month of the year is known as Thai, and Pongal infers to a new dawn. The arrival of a new harvest is celebrated on the day of Thai-Pongal. It venerates Mother Nature and the Sun God as an expression of gratitude for a bountiful harvest. This celebration of the dawn of the new year is both culturally and religiously significant to the Hindu people," unquote. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa assured trade unionists that the Eastern Container Terminal of the Colombo Port will not be sold or leased. The President met the Ports Authority trade union representatives at the Presidential Secretariat on their request to discuss about the Eastern Container Terminal of the Colombo Port. The President stressed that he would not allow any harm to the country's sovereignty and independence from the investments made. The former government has made an agreement to sell the ECT to India. Following discussions the incumbent government had with India, it is now been agreed to retain 51% of its ownership and the administration of the Eastern Terminal with the Ports Authority, the President said. He pointed out that the ECT would be subject to sustainable development under the investment project. He said the ECT development project was planned after careful consideration of regional geopolitical facts, the country's sovereignty, generation of income and job opportunities. He explained that India contributes to 66% of re-exports at the ECT. Bangladesh contributes 9% to the shipment volumes and the rest are transshipments from other countries. The President said the plan is to develop the port as a shared investment where 51% of shares would be owned by the Sri Lankan government, while the Adani Group of India and others could invest in the rest. The President, asking the trade unionists not to harbour any doubts on the investment, also requested their suggestions for further improving it. Ports Minister Rohitha Abegunawardena, Secretary to the President Dr. P.B. Jayasundara and other officials participated. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 patients count surpassed the 50,000 mark yesterday. According to the Epidemiology Unit of the Health Ministry, 692 new COVID-19 cases were reported yesterday. Among the positive cases identified yesterday, 685 are close associates of the Palayagoda COVID-19 cluster, 19 from the prison cluster, and 5 arrivals from overseas, including 1 from Qatar and 4 from the United Arab Emirates. A total of 50,229 COVID-19 cases have been reported and 6,715 infected cases are being treated at hospitals. Another 652 individuals are currently under investigations in hospitals. Sri Lanka reported a total of 247 deaths and 43,267 patients have fully recovered and been discharged from hospitals. A total of 1,416,299 PCR tests have been conducted to detect COVID-19 infected persons from February 18, 2020 to January 12, 2021. This news broadcast comes to you from the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation.
Save your card with a balance transfer facility from People's Bank. More details at peoplesbank.lk.
The ambassador of Vietnam in Colombo, Pham Thi Bich Ngoc, endorsed that Sri Lanka and Vietnam have immense potential for cooperation in the agriculture and fisheries sectors. The ambassador stated that Vietnam can share their best practices, knowledge and technology transfer in particular. Minister Gunawardena emphasized areas such as canning industry, especially fish canning, fish feed production, which are areas that Vietnam can offer assistance to Sri Lanka. Minister Gunawardena emphasized the importance of strengthening ties in the areas of tourism, democracy and education cooperation. Moreover, the minister referred to close connections that Sri Lanka had with the great leader of Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh, and Madam Nguyen Thi Binh, Foreign Minister of the Revolutionary Government of Vietnam, who worked closely with Sri Lanka in the non-aligned movement. The minister highlighted the importance of partnership in amity in international platforms to overcome national security threats. The ambassador of Vietnam expressed fullest support for Sri Lanka's bid for sectoral dialogue partnership status in ASEAN. That's local news.
Save your card with a balance transfer facility from People's Bank. Transfer the balance of another credit card to a People's Bank credit card with the lowest interest rate. More details at www.peoplesbank.lk.
A mother knows the pain of each member of the family. Siddhalepa, the trusted relief for aches and pains.
An effective therapy for relief from cold, sneezing, flu, headaches, swelling due to toothaches, rheumatic, discomforts, and muscular aches and pains. Siddhalepa, the Veda Mahatmya in every home.
The main news story is brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
The European Union announced the signing of 3 grants worth 8.26 billion rupees, which will support Sri Lanka's justice sector, help improve food safety and strengthen efforts to mitigate climate change. The grants were signed on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka by the Secretary to the Treasury S.R. Archigala and were presented by the ambassador of the delegation of the European Union to Sri Lanka, Denis Chaibi. Appreciating the continued close collaboration and the very cordial partnership and support for Sri Lanka extended by the EU, the Secretary to the Treasury said that these grants will reinforce the government's efforts to strengthen the justice sector, to reduce greenhouse gas emissions in Sri Lanka, and to improve food safety and quality, targeting exports. That was the main news story. We look at Watchlight next.
The main news story was brought to you by Siddhalepa Veda Mahatmya.
Brush your teeth twice a day for healthy teeth and gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, your trusted brands in oral care for many years.
Supiriviki Ayurvedic toothpaste for adults. Kakulu Ayurvedic toothpaste for kids. 9 Ayurvedic ingredients of Supiriviki will protect your teeth and strengthen your gums. Supiriviki and Kakulu, products from Siddhalepa.
In Watchlight, the police media spokesman DIG Ajit Rohana stated that a special operation to conduct rapid antigen tests on persons leaving the Western Province via 11 exit points recommenced from yesterday. The police media spokesman reiterated the need to follow health guidelines and adhere to quarantine regulations by wearing face masks and maintaining social distancing. He warned that isolation orders may have to be imposed again if residents fail to adhere to quarantine regulations in their areas. That came to you in Watchlight.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always.
All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In the headlines of the world news, Trump impeached for inciting U.S. Capitol riot. Belgian king's car hit during riots over death in police custody. And suspected Israeli strikes on Iran-linked targets in Syria kill dozens. The U.S. House of Representatives have impeached President Donald Trump for incitement of insurrection at last week's Capitol riot. 10 Republicans sided with Democrats to impeach the president by 232 to 197. He's the first president in U.S. history to be impeached twice or charged with crimes by Congress. Mr. Trump, a Republican, will now face a trial in the Senate where, if convicted, he could face being barred from ever holding office again. But he will not have to quit the White House before his term ends in 1 week because the Senate will not reconvene in time. Mr. Trump leaves the office on the 20th of January following his election defeat last November to Democrat Joe Biden. Hundreds of people rioted in Brussels on Wednesday night over the death of a 23-year-old in police custody at the weekend. Video from the scene shows King Philippe's car being hit by projectiles as it passed through the area. A police station was reportedly briefly set on fire during the unrest, which saw local streets vandalized. A police spokeswoman told the AFP news agency they had made several arrests and said 4 officers were injured. The police said about 500 people gathered yesterday close to the Brussels North police station over the death of a person identified in Belgian media as Ibrahima B. Israel has reportedly carried out a wave of airstrikes on Iran-backed militia positions in Syria overnight, in the 4th such attack in 2 weeks. The Syrian state news agency Sana said Israeli aircraft attacked the eastern Deir al-Zoar and Abu Kamal regions. It did not mention any casualties, but the UK-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said 14 Syrian soldiers and 43 allied militiamen were killed. Israel has not commented, but it often attacks Iran-linked targets in Syria. Israel told that it had struck more than 500 targets during 2020 on all fronts, in addition to multiple clandestine missions. Back to the headlines of the world news. Trump impeached for inciting U.S. Capitol riot. Belgian king's car hit during riots over death in police custody. And suspected Israeli strikes on Iran-linked targets in Syria kill dozens. That concludes this bulletin of world news.
World News. Brought to you by courtesy of...
From the first step you take till the time we meet, the trusted leader prioritizes you always.
All you need under one roof. People's Leasing, the trusted leader.
In development news, the United States donated a mobile testing unit to the regional health services in Monaragala, received by Dr. BMC Dasanayake as part of the effort to fight COVID-19 in Sri Lanka and protect lives through early detection, the U.S. Embassy in Colombo said in a release. The mobile unit will administer PCR tests and provide vital health services to 100 people daily in the Monaragala communities hard hit by the pandemic. The mobile unit enables safe sample collection by avoiding direct contact and can be used in future for testing other communicable diseases, including dengue. That's development news, and moving on to sports. The first test between Sri Lanka and England will commence today at the Galle International Stadium. Batsman Angelo Matthews and fast bowler Nuwan Pradeep are among 5 players who have joined the Sri Lanka bio-bubble since their return from South Africa. They, along with batsman Roshan Silva, spin bowling all-rounder Ramesh Mendis and left-arm wrist spinner Lakshan Sandakan, have now officially been named in the squad to play England in the Test series that starts today. Dhananjaya De Silva and Kasun Rajitha are out of the series altogether. But Matthews' return in particular will hearten a Sri Lankan side that had been struck down by injury in South Africa. He is likely to take up a middle-order position with Dinesh Chandimal. Sri Lanka's team manager Ashanta Dimel said that Oshada Fernando was not a certainty to play in the Galle test. Suranga Lakmal and Lahira Kumara have also recovered from the various strains that had plagued them in South Africa. On the spin bowling front, Sri Lanka have leg spinner Vanindu Hasaranga, left-arm spinner Lasith Ambuldennia, off-spinner Dilruwan Pereira and Sandakan to choose from. Aside from Lakmal and Kumara, the available fast bowlers include left-armer Vishwa Fernando, Dushmantha Chamira and Asitha Fernando. All that came to you in sports news, and looking at business news, Tesla has moved closer to its launch in India later this year by registering a company in the country. Tesla Motors India and Energy Private Limited was incorporated last week with registered officers in Bengaluru. Tesla Chief Executive Elon Musk tweeted in October about a foray into India. India's Transport Minister Nitin Gadkari told local media last month that Tesla would start with sales and then might look at assembly and manufacturing. However, local officials have suggested that Tesla's plans for India are not entirely clear. That's business news, economic news up next.
Economic news, courtesy of...
Congratulations on your promotion. It will be our treat, huh?
How about today?
Oh no, I was just joking.
It's fine. I have my LOLC credit card with me. Let's go out today.
Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has announced that it plans to sell $200 million worth of development bonds to foreign and local investors. The Public Debt Department of the Central Bank will issue up to $200 million in Sri Lanka development bonds of 1 year, 1 year 3 months, 2 years, 2 year 3 months, and 4 years tenure to eligible investors for a subscription at a fixed rate, determined through competitive bidding for all maturities. The minimum investment is $10,000 with additional investments in multiple of $10,000. The bonds are subject to applicable tax laws in Sri Lanka. The issue will be open for subscription from 11 a.m. tomorrow to 10 a.m. on the 19th of January. The bonds can be purchased from selected licensed commercial banks and primary dealers and will have a settlement date of 22nd January 2021. That's economic news.
Hello, Puta. Did you land already?
No, Amma. We're in transit and our flight got delayed.
Oh, really? How is Shani? Poor thing with her pregnancy. She might be feeling very uncomfortable. The airport must be heavily crowded because it's a season.
Amma, calm down. Everything is sorted. Why, I have my LOLC World Card with me. We are at the VIP lounge. There's nothing to worry.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
On to the weather report to conclude. Showers will occur at times in the northern, north-central, eastern, central and Uwa provinces. Fairly heavy falls above 50 millimeters can be expected at some places. Showers or thundershowers will occur at several places elsewhere after 1 p.m. and fairly heavy falls above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places. Showers can also be expected in the southern province in the morning as well. To conclude this bulletin of news, a recap of the headlines. Today is Tamil Thai Pongal Day. The President and the Prime Minister extend best wishes to the Tamils of Sri Lanka who celebrate the Thai Pongal festival. The President emphasises that the government has no intention of selling or leasing out the East Container Terminal of the Colombo Harbour. Sri Lanka's COVID-19 patients count surpasses the 50,000 mark. It is stressed that Sri Lanka and Vietnam have immense potential for cooperation in the agriculture and fisheries sectors. And Trump impeached for inciting U.S. Capitol riot. That concludes this morning's news broadcast, and now it's back to Geetanjali on the other side. And well, I can also see Viana, so I wonder who is going to keep you company for the next couple of hours. But it's a very good morning to both of you, and back to you, Geeta.